I've trained calisthenics for 10 years. I've solely focused on strength. But what's on the other side? What can we learn from endurance? This is my journey to running a 70-kilometer ultramarathon in Japan. Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 21 of Road to Shimanami, the 70-kilometer ultramarathon in Japan. And well, guess what? Today I found out I am weak, or I guess over the past couple weeks I've been finding out I am weaker than I first imagined. I am more of a beginner than I first imagined when it comes to running, because plan A was to, run 10 kilometers a day for a couple weeks and get used to it and then up the distance. This week I was supposed to up the distance, to run longer. Tomorrow and the day after I was gonna run 15 kilometers and complete 80 kilometers in total this week. Guess what? It's not happening. My feet are not holding up. Instead of, getting used to 10 kilometers and then upping the distance, in these past couple of weeks what I've accomplished is I've realized how difficult it actually is to complete 10 kilometers a day, which is not a bad thing, I learned something, so I made progress. But when it comes to the running challenge, the only reason, or the big reason I started running seriously is because I want to find out what's so hard about endurance. So in a way, if I didn't have to switch from plan A to plan B at any point in my preparation for the ultramarathon in Japan, well, then I suppose I didn't achieve my goal, because then I didn't learn anything about how hard running is, right? So in a sense, this is a good pain to experience. Of course it sucks, but hey, realizing that you're weak, realizing that you're a beginner is the first step to becoming strong. So the only thing that really matters is that from here, I don't just give up. I try to, like I said, go to plan B. And if plan B doesn't work, I go to plan C, D. And I can go the entire alphabet, the entire list of Chinese characters that's out there, the entire combination of atoms, I guess, in the universe. There are an infinite amount of plans, and I'll get to those plans and I'll think to those plans when I need them, and I'll think of them, on the spot, how to execute them when I need to, right? So that's the most important part. But yeah, nonetheless, it sucks. But hey, sucky things lead to great things. The only way to fail is to stop, I guess. But when it comes to today's training, right, like I mentioned, I'm I'm a bit broken down from 10 kilometers. So the way I'm adjusting my training is basically I'm seeing how I can adjust my training in order to recover better. And well, a part of that is to go a bit easier on upper body stuff, right? So with the upper body stuff, or with my training, strength training in general, I guess, I had like 3 to 4 kind of hard days a week. And then also in between I had skills training, which were, I thought of them as easy, but in the end, now I realize, looking back, that they weren't very easy. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do some balancing day. I'm going to add some handstands in between, which is going to be easier. That's what I'm going to do today. So basically, about half an hour of just hand balance practice. Perhaps I'll throw in a planche here and there, but that's going to be allowing myself to recover. Because guess what? If your upper body is recovered, your body is in general also going to have an easier time to recover the downstairs, I'll say. But anyway, let's get to it. Couple sets of handstands, and we'll see what happens. Yesterday, I got 20 seconds with 5 fingers of assistance. So today, I'm starting with 5 fingers of assistance as well. And hopefully, if things go well, I can move on to 4 fingers of assistance. Let's go. All right, that's 20 seconds on both sides from set number 1. So as a reward, I guess, I can move on to the next progression, which is 4 fingers. I'm gonna remove my pinky. It's not that big of a difference, but hey, every time you remove a finger, it's not that much of a difference. But in the end, you're there with one finger only, and then you're quite close to the one arm handstand already. So small steps make a big difference. Let's continue going. All right, 13 seconds, and because I'm not used to it with 4 fingers only, it feels very tiring. So when I get used to it, it'll become more efficient, and I'll get to those 20 seconds. But 13 seconds is still good volume to learn, so no worries there. Holy shit! That's 20 seconds. All right. 20 seconds on both sides, but just barely. I'll see what I do on the next one. Maybe I go to the next progression, maybe I just do the same thing. All right. Holy shit! That's 11 seconds. Alright, when it comes to the handstands, no doubt my biggest issue is the shoulder mobility. So I'm gonna do some stick holds, basically lying on my belly, trying to hold up this stick with a small weight of 2 kilos attached to it with straight arms. And I'm gonna superset it with some rotator cuff exercises as well, because hey, why not? I've been doing a lot of push lately compared to pull, because pull still hurts my sides from the deadlift injury, but nonetheless my shoulders should stay healthy. So if I only do push, my shoulders will be hunched in, In fact, they have always been, but these exercises, which I don't do enough, hence my shoulders are hunched in, they are gonna help that, because you're strengthening the pulling muscles in the back, and so your shoulders are gonna go down, or gonna go back as well as a result, and basically you're gonna have better posture. But I guess working 8 hours on a desk, sitting like a slouch, doesn't help when it comes to that regard. Anyway, let's hold up this stick for a couple sets, and well, that will be it for today's workout. Alright, so that's it for today's training, and well, those stick holds, they may look dumb, but they're insanely difficult. What is this? Like, I did 3 sets and I failed to hold the stick for 30 seconds on set number 3. I only got 20 seconds and it's a 2 kilo weight. I don't even know which muscle is hitting muscular failure, but in any case, like, I'm unable to, just hold the stick upright, and that's because I have a complete lack of mobility. Which, if you're doing handstand training, if you're trying to get the handstand, well, the more efficient your movement is, the less power you need, the longer you're going to be able to balance. And in order to have an efficient movement, in order to have an efficient handstand, mobility is one of the number one priorities. If you look at the professional handstand guys, they go up with your hand like 180 degrees, and it doesn't even bother them. It's like a natural position, But that kind of mobility, it doesn't take a couple days, it doesn't take a couple months, it takes a couple years of consistency. So, well, it's perhaps something I will never achieve, but hey, it's something I can look up to. It's something I can, strive for as long as I'm training these handstands. Because, well, guess what? I'm gonna need some recovery days for a while when I'm focused on endurance. And handstands, like balancing in general, even if it's for like legs, or whether it's for legs or upper body, balancing stuff is a good way to do recovery days, because you hit balancing failure rather than muscular failure. If I fail on a handstand, it's not because I went to complete muscular failure in my shoulder, rather it's just because I lost my balance. So in a sense, you're able to go all out, you're going until failure, you're going until you lose your balance, but also you're not hitting muscular failure, so you're recovering at the same time. You're getting the best of both worlds. You're able to go out, like all out 100%, while still preserving your body in order to recover for something else that you're doing. Or perhaps if it's if hand balancing is your main goal, you're just able to go the next day again. But yeah, that's a very fun part, because guess what? No one likes to train holding back, right? We do this training because we love it, we want to go hard, that's normal. But guess what? you only have so much energy, so you kind of have to measure where you spend it. But when it comes to today's training, like I mentioned, I realized I am weak, but I also want to mention that that's not necessarily a bad thing, because, well, I could be sitting on the couch and just telling myself, like, hey, if I were to try, I would be strong, I could be convincing myself that I am strong, but instead I'm finding out I'm not. But that's a sign that I'm trying. And if you have the same experience, it's a sign that you're trying. So it's kind of this blue and red pill in the matrix, right? You can either enjoy the comfortability, not knowing what you're actually capable of, but assuming that you're capable of doing a lot if you just put your mind to it, or you can actually go out there and do it, perhaps run into a couple of problems. But guess what? If you didn't find out that you're weak, you now know exactly where you are, and you can also just continue going. You can go ahead with plan B and C and D and the entire alphabet, and you can just, as long as you keep going, you're gonna make improvements, right? If today I did day 21, I guess, of running every day. I'm a human who's capable of running 10 kilometers 21 days in a row. And if I just keep going, right, eventually I'm gonna turn into a human who's capable of doing 10 kilometers for 30 days in a row, or perhaps 60 days, right? Just like at one point, I decided to start running 5Ks daily with the goal of doing it for 30 days, and then now I'm doing it for 600 days in a row. I turned into a human who's capable of doing that, and that's only because I decided to continue every day, even if things didn't go to plan. Because guess what? My feet, they hurt, but it's not the first time my feet are hurting. I've experienced this before. I've experienced this when starting the 5Ks, and well, I'll probably experience it again in the future, right? When I'm doing something different again. But not trying at all is the biggest weakness, I guess. It's the biggest weakness, but you don't realize that you're weak if you don't actually try. Anyway, that's it for today's training, and well, I'm gonna have some dinner. I think I did enough yapping today, so I'll see you tomorrow for, I think it's gonna be some kind of skill and push-up day combined. Let's go.